In this video, I wanted to discuss our paper Flattening Fantasies, in which we analyze stereotypes in pornographic discourse. As we know, pornographic consumption is almost always private, individual, and pseudonymous. And most of the behavior around this consumption is free from the judgment of how people may be viewed by their peers. Analyzing at scale how pornography is represented gives us a lens to understand how people may perceive sex and gender roles in different cultural contexts. In our case, we look at more than 5.5 million videos on the pornographic website xHamster. We primarily focus on the language of video titles and organize them based on the video tags associated with them. Each video has tags that are assigned by video uploaders to categorize their uploads. It includes information like who is featured in the video, what sex act is in it, and more importantly for us, where the uploader thinks the video is intended to have been recording. These tags give us a broad sense of how different nationalities are represented and viewed in pornography, a sort of a linguistic fingerprint. It shows us how a particular nationality and thus culture is viewed by people from both within and outside. These also allow us to group nationalities together based on their shared representation in pornography. We see the nationalities emerge into 8 distinct groups based not on their cartographic contiguity but rather on similar culture focus on tropes and stereotypes. On xHamster, not all videos have a nationality tag. Actually, a majority do not. We find that the language of these videos is the most similar to the ones tagged American, which would imply an American hegemony in pornographic culture and that a majority of pornographic language caters to the stereotypes and tropes found in American pornography. Besides that, we also find certain recurring tropes and patterns across all 8 clusters. As an example, and unsurprisingly, we find women are defined chiefly in terms of their physical attributes and characteristics. We also find that women are defined in terms of their proximal availability. That means that in Japanese pornography, we have a focus on tropes around the office space. And in the South Asian context, this manifests in terms of kinship roles with a recurring focus on the sister-in-law or bhabhi trope. Our findings suggest that even though the fetishized roles change in their particularities, however, the ways in which the female gender is marketed cross-culturally has a persistent focus on women in caretaking roles. This is in stark contrast to how men are depicted, which is generally as dominant and powerful and physically engaged in what are traditionally thought to be masculine roles, such as the handyman or the plumber. Perhaps one of our more surprising findings was that certain specificities have roots in how people from certain cultures have been perceived historically. We find, for example, that French pornography tends to overuse racialized language to refer to women from regions such as the Maghreb that were previously colonized. And this brings us back to the title of the paper, that draws attention to the flattening of individual and group identities that takes place in pornographic spaces, which might feel innocuous at the onset, since pornography is a fantastical enterprise. But at the same time, we understand that people, especially men, will start consuming pornography at a very young age. In that context, these websites serve not just as a way of consuming sexual content, but as a platform on which ideas about sex and gender are formed. In the long term, this impacts how people view, interact, associate, and form relationships with members of not just their own culture but those outside of it, in both sexual and non-sexual contexts.